And now next on the next panel for this day will be the debate panel on what's going on now with the U.S. Attorney General and versus the states, the federal regulation of CBD and cannabis. So we're going to talk about what's next for legislation, discussion about CBD and cannabis products as painkillers for professional players and for other people who have constant pain, who need alternative to prescription opioids, which are very damaging to the body. So we're going to have on this panel, will be moderated by Alan Stone, and then we will have Greg Martre and Brett Finkelstein from Vital Partners.
Hello everybody. Can we get everybody to stand up? We've been sitting for quite a while. Let's get the blood going in your body. This way, when we talk, you're not on your phone and we're just talking to air. So if I can get everybody to stand up really quick. Come on now. You in the back there, young lady in the black and white dress, thank you. Young man back there in the red tie on your phone, if you could stand up. Okay, the reason why I'm doing this is because we're talking about CBDs and health. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor. I'm blessed to be here. And I wanted to make sure everybody is standing up, get some blood in your body. Are we ready to talk about health? Mr. Allen?
Thank you.
It's all you, baby.
All right. All right, everyone can have a seat. And thank you, Greg, for the opening remarks. And, Brett, good to have you back on the panel. We wanted to kind of make this a little bit open-ended. I guess the topic is regulation in the cannabis industry and CBD and how the government laws are affecting the industry, and the cloud over the industry from a legal perspective, both as a public company or as a private company engaged in the business and selling what at the federal level might be considered Class A drugs, and how people in the industry are dealing with that.
The topic of the conversation was how Jeff Sessions is affecting the industry and how the co-memo was repealed by him about a few weeks ago, maybe at the beginning of the year. So I'll just read a little something that we wrote to our shareholders and partners and investors that was published in the MJ Business Daily, and I think it'll give you a brief kind of understanding of how we feel, and then we'll go into the conversation.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
So, co-memo was established in 2013, allows states to devise their own regulations without federal interference against state law-abiding companies. The memo provides a series of guiding principles that medical dispensaries and adult use retailers must follow to avoid federal intervention. If businesses follow state laws, do not divert product out of state, keep product out of the hands of children, do not support cartels, and do not launder monies, that the federal government will take hands off approach to cannabis law enforcement. So that's what the co-memo was written in 2013. So we wrote a rebuttal to Mr. Sessions, I think, like I said, was published in MJ Business Daily about when he repealed it. Dear partners, investors, and colleagues, we'd like to give you our thoughts on the recent announcement of Attorney General Sessions. First and foremost, we want to reinforce our belief in our commitment to the cannabis industry and the work we are doing in the partnership. We are undeterred by the recent news and more excited than ever about the future of cannabis industry and our portfolio companies. We'll continue to take advantage of and benefit from the incredible opportunity to invest in part of America's great new industry. For reference and information, below we are sharing some of our daily cannabis industry news feeds, mostly articles and commentary on the recent announcement by Attorney General Sessions, who he alone, not a committee, not a Congress, not by the Supreme Court, and not by executive order, just him, an unelected government official, decided to rescind the long-standing co-memo which has been governing the rules since August 2013 and which continue policy and guidelines of the Ogden Memo, which was in place in 2009. We have included some of those memos for reference along with sessions from the January 4th meeting, and I will email it to people if they want. Much of the response to last week's surprise announcement has been sensationally, frankly, long-headed. Most of the MSN news reports have exaggerated what the announcement means and how it will impact the cannabis industry and business that operate in the industry. The obvious reason that this has drawn such attention is more than 70% of the country has a vested interest, including businesses, careers, finances, jobs, healthcare, access to life-saving medicine, and their overall well-being in it. In what Sessions did, and they strongly disagree with the action he has taken. On the surface, it would seem the death knell for the industry. If the feds want to unleash their power and resources on the cannabis industry, it would destroy it. Close down businesses, seize property and funds, arrest operators, lay off hundreds of thousands of workers, and stop all investment into the industry, and maybe even worse, make medical marijuana users criminals again. The real news is none of this will happen. Since we began our cannabis career in 2014, there have been a few times when it seemed things were not going well and that legalized cannabis reform and acceptance was hitting a wall, even in a reversing direction. Last week was another one of those times, and it just came 4 days after what considered to be the sentimental moment of cannabis reform, the full legalization of cannabis in California. The most populous state and the 7th largest economy in the world, what happens in California spreads around the country, then Sessions makes it discreet and kiboshes all of it. We think not that it is now how a country and democracy works. No doubt the timing of this announcement is suspect, but we will address that at another time. The good news and the real news is nothing has changed and nothing will happen to legally operating cannabis businesses or consumers, and nothing will happen to our portfolio companies and the companies we seek to invest in, except that their critical business solutions will become even more important to licensed operators. So now that Jeff Sessions thinks differently and makes a decision to roll back the rules and guidelines that are working well and keep the strict laws and procedures in place, the world will not change. We think not, and our business will keep flourishing.
Well, stay there and moderate for us. You're there.
I just wanted to give people what we call memo now.
That's great.
Is anyone in the audience in the cannabis marijuana business?
Who's in the space?
Anyone who's Patrick in the space back there? Okay. Did you?
Ask him what state they're in.
How is it impacting you? You're in the business. You're selling CBD.
Yeah, I started. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a military brat that was given cancer thanks to our government through the ground zero testing. And I've been on the forefront. Owned the delivery service, storefront, and now I own a distribution company. And as I've gone up, the rules for CBDs and what they're doing, it's been a tough thing in California because I'm all the way down in San Diego, and I'm the furthest away I can be from Sacramento, and Sacramento is where everything happens. And you know, being in LA, you're a little bit closer, so you have more pull than I do down there. But I travel up and down the state. The problem we have with the CBDs and the current law was the Farm Bill Act, which they just recently changed. And that's actually, I don't know, I'm still waiting to see if it's a good thing or not. It's not a good thing. As far as, we have two CBDs. We have industrial hemp CBD, which now the state of Indiana has said I can't even drive a truck through there with my products or I'll lose them and be put in jail by the Indiana state government. The other is the cannabis CBD, and that one is regulated to the states and to California. That is a big market. I know a lot of growers. I would say, amongst the growers I know, there's probably about 3 million acres growing not industrial, but cannabis CBD for Rick Simpson oil. And I don't know, has anybody here seen anybody take Rick Simpson oil? It's the most amazing thing. I became a believer 5 years ago after I got out of the hospital. And that's what started me on this escapade of CBDs. I use it 50 to 1. I've had 10 major operations on my abdomen. I should by all rights be dead, but thankfully the CBD creams have helped me alleviate the pain from these operations. Now that we have the CBDs through tinctures and edibles, we're seeing, like the young man over here was talking about the cancer. The CBDs are not, it's just not 11 strains, it's all the strains of cancer. And Big Pharma is putting a big kibosh in California on us going forward, right? I mean, in your state, young man, well, how is it in your state? Are you here in Florida? Yeah, now Florida is, I would say you're 17, 18 months behind California. And what we're doing, like Brett said earlier, what goes in California, the rest goes for the nation. And right now we have a big fight between Northern California and Southern California. If you're in the South, you don't get the representation in Sacramento. And that's unfortunate, because the bottom line is it's about healing people. That's what CBDs do. They heal the body. I will tell you right now, raise my hand and say I'm one of those people that use it every day. I started my water drink company with CBDs in it, and come July, we'll be in Walmart. We'll be the first one in the big box, and that was a big thing. I took 5 lawyers to explain to Walmart what CBDs are, the difference between cannabis and the industrial hemp. And like, I don't understand, and maybe you know, or maybe you know, why we cannot grow industrial hemp in this country with all the varied products, but more importantly, the health benefits that come out of it. I mean, you...
Patrick knows, he should probably get up on stage and talk about that. But it's really a different plant, I guess, the answer that the way I look at it.
You know, I think that any of us here on the stage and in the industry push for regulation. I mean, we don't want to sell drugs, and marijuana is right now a Schedule I drug to children, to minors, but what Jeff Sessions did, I think, is really, roll back the business a little. It's really putting cartels back in the business. It's making an enterprise more criminal. The black market and the gray market is not going away, but going back to the CBD, it is a remarkable drug. If anyone hasn't taken it, I think part of it, the business that Greg hits on, is the education, because people say, oh my God, I'm not going to take that, it's going to get me high. And it's not. I mean, I've seen it work from catamounts for epilepsy. I saw them pass the First Amendment here that my friend was on the forefront of, because his daughter has Tourette's and seizures, and the seizures went down. Yes, you need maybe a full entourage effect, but the CBD alone, I'm going to say, come out and say in 3 to 5 years, we're going to take CBD like drinking water. It's going to be a vitamin. It's going to be a superfood. And I think that part of the business that we all see, and that Greg's involved in, Alan, is educating people that it's not going to get you high. It's not dangerous to society. And it's something that anyone can take, and you will feel better taking it.
I think getting into Wall Street and Walmart is great because then it's becoming mainstream. That's a tremendous accomplishment, and right now you have to go to like vape stores and places like that to get these products. But if you can get it at Publix or at Walmart, then society is going to adopt that much faster.
Well, one of the things that I see in our space, in working in it every day, is that we are an education. It's all about education, because we're having to deal with 70 years of propaganda, and it is so ingrained and it's been passed down from generation to generation. Is now we're trying to reverse that knowledge and bring the correct knowledge. And like for my company, we test everything. We want to make sure that when we put our product out there, be it our spa line with all of our facial creams and that for the ladies, that it is healthy. But not only is it healthy, that it's recorded. And that's the problem that I see in our industry, is that we're not recording our advancements in CBDs to be used as education, so that these people here who want to get into the business, they can go, oh, well, you have this empirical evidence that shows that it does this, it does this, it does this. Where right now, for me and on the ground, pounding the ground, I run into a lot of people that talk about CBDs, and all they're talking about how they can make money out of it, not how it helps the body. And that's the problem that we're seeing in this industry, is that we're not educating enough. And those that have the money are not buying commercial space on TV, or they're not buying ad time on TV, or they're not going to Sirius, but they're not educating, they're not getting on Dr. Oz or Ellen or any of those things that gets the mainstream public to change their perception of what CBDs are.
Right, but today we have things like Google, we have the internet, people can learn, online. It's much easier to get educated today than it was in the past.
Right, I think that would also, to hit on what Greg said, part of it is not the why, it's the why. Like, we all got to understand and try to educate people of the benefits of CBD, and it comes from the plant, and all the medicinal benefits, and all the great things about it. But why is someone going to take that? And that, I think, is part of the education, because it is, what CBD, it's going to put in the bottle, but why am I going to take that over something else that might help with the same ailments? And I think, again, it's going to come over time and education to retail community, medicinal caregivers, and the community at large.
Yeah. I think at this point we're going to maybe open up some questions from the audience. Yes, Lena. A great question.
That's a great question. And for me, there is, what she asked was, does the CBD, taking it, does it alleviate the pain? Does it do away with the pain? How does it affect the body? And I'll tell you from my personal experience. I use a 50-to-1 CBD cream on my scar. I take a tincture, a 1-to-1 CBD, and then I drink our water 4 times a day. For me, personally, I'm in mad amounts of pain. Every day I wake up and I'm doubling over in pain. I'm crying in pain because of what happened to me. But I'm not going to sit there and cry and spill milk about it. I'm going to figure out what it is, and that's the reason why our company went into CBDs, because all three, myself and my 2 partners, we're all cancer survivors. And we started, I was the main person in it. I convinced my partners to go into that space. We've done a lot of extensive studies. There's a lot of creams out there that are not doing the medical background research to make sure that their product. I can name 2 products. Ivory Hemp is a great product. They have 3 doctors on staff, and they're constantly reviewing and making their product better. In fact, I'm one of their test patients. So. And the other one comes out of Northern California. I don't know if you may know them. They are Cannibus CBD. They're out of San Francisco.
No, there's so many companies that are there.
There's so many, he's right. There's so many companies in the CBD space, but the problem with it, and Brett will probably say this too, is that these companies are not doing their due diligence. If we're saying that CBDs are a product that heals your body, we should be able to back up the evidence that shows that we're healing your body, instead of saying, oh, here's a great label and this is what we're doing. So I think that for me, to answer your question, if I didn't have CBDs, I wouldn't be here right now. I would be crying in my room and doubled over in pain.
Go ahead, Elena.
That's a good question. For me, with my pain management, I have to do it every day. I mean, I'll show you my scar later and you'll understand why. Let's just say this section right here, it's all new. I mean, literally, they took a knife and took all the muscle and everything and threw it all away, and I had a giant T-plate hole in my abdomen. And I had to it took me 2 years to regrow all that muscle and all that back, and through that time, I was using CBDs to heal that. And my doctor, Dr. Yael Kadesky, my little Jewish doctor, because of what I was doing, he's a plastic surgeon, and now he's using it for his operations with plastic surgery and reducing the scars. I don't know if you knew that, the more powerful the CBD, it helps alleviate the scar tissue. And that is something, if you have a lot of operations, you get a lot of scar tissue. And the CBD, it doesn't eliminate it altogether, but it helps the body heal so the scar tissue isn't as hard as it is. That's the best explanation I can give you for your question.
Does anyone else have a question? Patrick, do you have any questions?
I know you got questions.
I'll just touch basically on the question that you asked originally about why we can't grow hemp. The reason why we can't grow hemp is because of the history of the plant, and basically because of alcohol prohibition. Back when you've heard of BNY Mellon Bank,
Right.
His daughter was married to Harry Hanslinger, who basically decided that hemp should be illegal because it was messing up his paper production. Hemp was one of the major, for I get money, hundreds of thousands of
1947.
Before that, hemp was the major tool, I guess you want to plant that was used to make paper and whatnot, and it was messing up his program basically. So he decided that we have to put a stop to this, as well as there was alcohol going on, and they decided we're going to stop this. At that point, they decided to make hemp illegal, as well as try to change the schedules for the production of the plant itself. And remember that hemp is a part of the cannabis plant.
Right.
And so therefore, that's the reason why we can't grow it to this day, because pharmaceutical companies, as well as the paper companies, as well as the government decided it wasn't in the best interest. It had nothing to do with the health of the plant.
Lena?
So, the state regulations, how big of a headwind is this for the, how big is it of a headwind to the industry development, in the sense that it looks like the way it's set up currently, all the supply chain must remain within state lines, right? There cannot be any cross-state trade or movement.
Yeah, there's no interstate transportation.
Yeah,
It's
so
prohibited.
how do you think
But Elena, that's for THC. Okay, you have to understand that the industrial plant has less than the required THC that the government says we can cross state lines. The cannabis CBD, that has a high percentage of THC because it uses to catalyst the CBD to make it stronger. Like, when you look at the oil that's created for industrial hemp, it's very clear. It looks almost like a watered down tea when you see it before you make it into a water isomer. The cannabis CBD is a black tarry substance that's really thick and viscous. You can see the total differences. And the government has this, which this says, okay, cannabis CBD can only stay inside the state. If I go across state lines, I'm going to Lebanon.
So my question is, how do you see, what's your estimate of scalability of these businesses that you finance, for example, and that you guys are observing and monitoring? Do they really have good potential?
I think what he's saying is the CBD without the THC level can be shipped, all over the country.
Right, as the businesses keep going, the rules will start changing and loosening up. I think that when we're talking about what Jeff Sessions kind of repealed was THC, which is the psychoactive component of cannabis. What Greg is selling is CBD, which is medicinal part, and a lot of attributes based on the cannabis oil that has 0.01% of THC, which you could ship.
Yes.
Since we're in the state of Florida, are there any companies right now growing, cannabis in Florida, and is there a market, for medical marijuana in the state of Florida?
The state of Florida now has
I think there's 13 licenses.
13 licenses vertically integrated to grow, cultivate, and distribute medical cannabis. As the patient count grows, they're going to release more licenses. So right now, once it gets to 100,000 patients, they're going to release another 4 to 5 licenses. And those are big operations that licenses are selling anywhere between $30 to $50 million just for the license. And based on that, you could open up a set amount of dispensaries based on the patient count. But it's vertically integrated. You have to source and sell your own marijuana.
Is there a list of companies that have this license right now?
Yeah, you could go to the Department of Health website.
And how many of the 13 companies you say?
Yeah, but 13, and I would say maybe out of 13, based on the laws, because the law just really came into effect, they have to have certain guidelines. I would say 4 or 5 of them are really robust and have dispensaries and product out there, and the other ones are just getting started.
Any other questions? Tom, you have a question? All right, well, I guess...
let me, I wanted to expand. So you asked about emerging markets, other markets than the United States. As of January 1st of this year, we had, until January 1st of this year, we had 13 states that could legally grow industrial hemp. As of January 1st of this year, only Colorado and Kentucky are legal in the eyes of the United States government to grow industrial hemp. So I like Friday before I came here, I had a company reach out to me, and their first question was, do you have a COA, and is it for Kentucky or Colorado? And if it's not, I don't want to do business with you. The reason being that Jeff Sessions said that Kentucky and Colorado is because they did all their due diligence on their paperwork. Kentucky is the state that converted tobacco farms into hemp farms. I deal with 3 groups in Kentucky. I deal with a group in Louisville, a group in Lexington, and a group right between them. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys. There's one gentleman, Chris Green. He took a tobacco farm that's been in his family since before the Civil War and turned it into an industrial hemp farm. And every 90 days, he harvested 1.5 million acres. And in that, he takes, then it becomes biomass, and they run it through the machines, and then it becomes the powder. Up until January 1st, the prices for powdered CBD at a medical grade of 99.9 was roughly for a kilo was about $13,000. And since the new regulation, I know that we're paying in Colorado for our CBD, we're paying $5,400 a kilo. And when that company called me, they go, well, can we get it for under $8,000? And I went, yeah. And he goes, do you have all the COAs? And I said, yep. And he goes, does it come from China? Now the CBD that comes from China is 88 to 89% medical grade. The CBD that comes from Portugal is 90 to 92. The CBD that comes from Spain is 94 to 96%. So when you look at all the different markets and how they're growing it, when it comes down to the powdered form, and you're talking about medical grade CBD, the United States is by far, between Colorado and Kentucky, we're at 99.9. I've almost seen it at 100%. And that difference between the Chinese CBD and the American CBD for the health benefits is night and day. They don't do their due diligence on making sure that their product is clean. There's still a lot of heavy, I would say heavy materials, I wouldn't say heavy metals, but there's materials that are still left in the CBD, whereas our extraction process from the biomass that goes through all the different machines to create that powder at the end is by far, it takes longer. It takes two to 3 days longer to create that than what we're getting from Europe and what we're getting from there. And I don't know if you knew this, but Sessions was talking about, there's a talk about an import tax of 25% on China and the European CBDs because they want to lock them out because they understand that it is not as healthy as what we're producing here in this country. Now, I know that California is redoing all their paperwork because I know personally 62 farms that went out of business when that law came into effect.
Well, I think he was probably listening to Donald Trump. He probably got the idea from him.
It's true.
But I hope that it clears it up for you.
I'm a little more confused. I asked originally the question about the state of Florida, if they could legally grow, cannabis and
Medical cannabis.
Medical cannabis.
exactly.
Yes, they can.
Yes, I can.
But you mentioned that only, and I'm a little confused, Colorado and Kentucky.
Right, they can only grow industrial hemp CBD. That is, you have to understand, you got two plants. They're the same plant, but one is really stocky and thin, and it creates the fiber for paper. And I mean, like, our Constitution was written on hemp paper. If it was written on wood paper, we wouldn't see the ink anymore. That's the property of the hemp plant. The fibers are so thick, whereas the cannabis plant is not as a fibery, it's more of a flower. So you have to understand the two distinctions.
You can grow it in simple terms. In the state of Florida, companies that say they have, acquiring land right now for this, growing this product, that's legal in the state of Florida. Similar to that.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Patrick? Sure.
That's correct. Yeah, Hemp Meds out of San Diego has the hempcrete. They've been running around. I actually watched it being made. It's an amazing thing, that hempcrete. Keeps the house cool during the summer and the house warm during the winter. I actually have I have 1943 Wishbone United States Marine Corps hemp-made uniform. And I used to play a lot of paintball. And in the winter, you'd stay warm, and in the summer, you'd stay cool. Why we don't do that anymore, I understand the reason why. But you're right, the agricultural side, if you were an investor, I would say go to the agricultural side right now, and in 2 to 3 years, once all the rules have been straightened out for that, then you would look into investing in companies. No, the whole thing about the agricultural side, it's about, in Kentucky, you have to either be associated with the Department of Agriculture of the state, or you have to be with the University of Kentucky, or what is the other major university? There's 2 universities. The groups that I deal with are part of the Department of Agriculture. And there is a litany of paperwork that I have to get, and it has to have all those state seals so that when I transfer it from Kentucky to California, I have no issues. Because it's in the marijuana space, it puts up this red flag. I had a long discussion with Chris of Green Remedy in Kentucky. Chris has 1.5 million acres of land. And that was one of the things that he's doing. He's taking his property and saying, this is the agricultural side. This is my medical side. And he's working with the Department of Agriculture in Kentucky, and they're creating new laws that then I'm able to take to my home state of California and run it up to Sacramento and start the process going there. So that when we get our process in 16, 18 months, you guys can go, oh, well, California did all our hard work, here we go, and then your politicians look at California and they go, well, if California did it, we can do it. That's what I'm seeing, and California is the groundswell for CBDs, in my opinion. One of the things that we, my partners and I with our company for the CBDs is that when we go to look at a farm, we want to talk to exactly what you're talking about. Are you agricultural or are you medical? And those rule sets are still being written as we speak. And I mean, what the space was, and Alan and Brent will say this, what the space was a month ago, what it was 6 months ago, are totally different. And what it was a year ago, it's 180 degrees different. And it's constantly evolving. And I know it scares a lot of investors because Jeff Sessions is saying this and is saying it's in the marijuana category. But I would say to you all, watch Farm Bill 2014. The Farm Bill 2014 is going to really take the marijuana space and the CBD space, and they're going to separate them. And once they separate them, then it's lights out. Now, is there a doctor in here? Anybody a doctor? I think our doctor left. And you probably know this. We found in the human body the cannabinoid system. And the cannabinoid system the best way that I explained to somebody, if you saw the movie with the Marine drill sergeant giving Joker a hard time, that's what CBD, when you drink or you put it in your body, that's a drill sergeant coming into your cannabinoid system and saying, okay, let's get to work. Because it's an inert system. It doesn't work unless it has an outside system requiring it to come in and make it activated. And that's the reason why we took so long to find out what the cannabinoid system does for the human body. It's definitely an eye-opener when you start going down that rabbit hole and you start seeing the benefits of what CBD can do for the human body. But more like right now, our company, we're using professional athletes. Tony Hawk, I come from the skateboarding business. I have a lot of professional skateboarders that are in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and even in their 60s, and we're recording the effects of recovery. We have, our company owns Larry Dixon's Top Fuel Dragster. Larry is one of our guys, and we're seeing the effects on a race driver and other race drivers. And Kyle Turley, the football player, we're working with Kyle to see how the effects on those athletes on the recovery. I do know that the NFL is considering next year on allowing CBDs to come in and help the athletes recover, because they've been running an extensive 2-year study on CBDs. And once you get a big box and you get a national sports organization to say that it's lights over, then all the investors will be knocking on Brett's door going, hey, we want to get in with you and get into your CBD space. But right now, right now the space is it's a little bit of the wild, wild west. You got to walk in and be a little bit of bravado and convince these politicians to say, here's all the empirical evidence, read it, learn it, how can I help you, how can I help others? But when you have big pharma shoving thousands and thousands of dollars into their pockets, they don't want to hear you. And that's the problem that we're seeing in California. I don't know what it's like here in Florida. It's my first time back here in 23 years, so I keep track, like the young man asked about Florida, I keep track of all the laws state to state, because I want one day to be able to see it go across the whole United States and give somebody else an opportunity not to go through chemo and not to wretch their body from all that poison and that radiation that goes into your body. Instead, put something good into your body that helps it heal. Right now, we're at a tipping point, in my opinion. There are a lot of investors that want to get into CBDs, but they're afraid because it's in that marijuana category. and you have 70 years of propaganda that is keeping people out of that.
Very true. Excellent point. Any other questions? Stephen, I think you got to start trying CBD.
I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm here just like you.
Just to let you know, this is the first one, I attend. A lot of the old talks about that. I read a lot about, Cannibus. I can see there's a lot of political reasons why they don't want to have it here. But that said, people seem to like it. People when you watch on TV, cures that it does for people. It's not to get high, it's just to get, the benefit, the medical benefit. And in the state of Florida, because I invest in some of the smaller companies that are pretty active in the state of Florida. So, and I also noticed that a number of companies are domiciled in Canada. And one of the reasons why is Canada more a friendly country?
The market there is federally legal. It's going to go into effect. Federally legal. June. It'll go into effect in June. But the capital markets, as Alan could attest to, is a lot more robust. And they're licensed LPs, and they're getting an influx of a lot of capital. And the market there is on the growing side, on the federal level, is efficient and effective.
I mean, the underwriters in Canada are able to do large offerings. There's a number of companies that I'm following that have raised $100 million in offerings. They're being, underwritten by the major firms in Canada. And with all that money, these companies are growing and distributing and selling within Canada. They're not shipping it to the U.S. But so the U.S. is competing with that. We're losing ground because we don't have we have the regulatory hurdles. So when it does become legal at the federal level, and when underwriters feel comfortable to do IPOs, secondary offerings for these young emerging companies, then we'll have a more level playing field. But right now, Canada is the #1 country, in the space in terms of raising capital for the cannabis industry.
Well, hasn't it shown a growth of in the past year, I think Canada's had a growth of 112% on their...
Well, if you look at the indexes of stocks, that are traded on the Canadian exchange, these stocks are exploding. Patrick and I were doing some studies on this, and there's a lot of companies that are up 200, 300, 400% in value in the last year. Oh, sure. We had a client. I was with them in October. They trade both on the Canadian exchange, on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and also over the counter on the OTCQB. And their stock ran, when I was hanging around with these guys, we're on a roadshow in San Francisco and Las Vegas. The stock ran from 20 cents to $1.50. And we're sitting with a group of people like you, and people, I don't know anything about this. Should I be investing in this? But people who are savvy, and ready to, call their broker and buy some stock, they could have made a lot of money. Okay, I think, if you have any questions on investing, happy to talk to you. Any questions on the industry? The panel here can explain more about it, and I think it's time for lunch. Thank you.
Let's go eat, people. Come on, let's go.
Thank you very much for
I got 17 years in front of this thing.
So that concludes all the panels and the speaking panels.